It's like a Sharknado, except with poop.
This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerate it. I know words. Mike Pounds.
I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation.
But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated.
One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water.
I had the best words. God bless the United States.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. It's Friday, TGIF. Boy, it's been an insane week. The insanity, of course, does not stop. We've got some really good stories for you today. Very important stuff to talk about, including whether or not, and this is really significant, I think, whether or not the police we're working with the rioters. So the Capitol rioters. What went wrong? So I'm going to examine that and whether or not there were police there that were definitely working with the, or we could assume maybe were working with the rioters to allow them to ransack the Capitol. That is some interesting stuff. So we've got that. We've got some of the rioters that are getting a little bit of trouble and begging for forgiveness. So it turns out that there are consequences. We have Betsy DeVos is gone. So we're going to dunk on her a little bit. We've got Donald Trump's inauguration temper tantrum. And then Joe Manchin doesn't want you to have your checks, apparently. Interesting stuff. So I think there's no doubt about that. Nonetheless, I want to present the evidence. So should be interesting for a story, actually. And that's actually what we're going to do first. But before we dive into it, I just want to ask you all to please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Very, very helpful when you do that. Share us, like us on the different platforms. We're on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, all that stuff. Share our videos, share our stream. It's one of the best ways that you can actually help the show. All right, so that said, have I heard about the rioters defecating throughout the Capitol? I did. Let me just say that it was a really shitty thing to do. I'll just escort myself out now. No, I'm kidding. I know it. The puns. You come for the news, you stay for the puns. That's what happens here. But anyway, yes, I did hear about that. There's all sorts of stuff that happened. I mean, what are you going to do, right? Other than, of course, charge these people with the fullest extent of the law, obviously. Taking their lead from Caitlin Bennett. Ah, yes. That's another good one. Boy, I love you all. All right, anyway. moving on, let's get into the serious stuff here. And let's talk about the failures of the Capitol Police. Failure. All right. On Wednesday, pro-Trump rioters breached the Capitol. It's been a big story all week. And now we have a lot of information about what actually happened, what led up to it. And we've also seen videos, and I'm going to show you some more here in a minute, of police officers welcoming in these rioters to the Capitol Police. I'm sorry, into the Capitol building. These are the Capitol Police officers. And so, anyway, I'm going to show you those videos here. But first, I want to give you some context into this and some pretext. Okay, and so we have some experts. Some experts talked to Business Insider, and they talked about how, along with the delayed response, the lack of mass arrests, and the fact that there were videos of people being let in by Capitol Police, that the fact that this could be either tacit support of the attempted Trump coup or, complete support of the Trump coup. And that's, of course, from law enforcement. Now, like I said, this is speculation, and it's based on what these individuals know about security and how this situation unfolded. And I'll also note that none of these people were willing to speak on the record because of the nature of the subject. So that said, let me show you the videos here, and then we'll go to the three officials that Business Insider spoke to yesterday. So with that,
police are squabbling with protesters. Oh, there we go. And they just breached the Capitol again.
ACAF, 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 ACAF. Fucking traitors! They're gonna lock us in.
You can disagree with it, but respect it. Come on.
Give them in hell.
all right, so I would say those videos kind of speak for themselves. I mean, you have officers that are just letting them in, to which, of course, they, vandalized the area, stole things, smashed windows, smeared feces, excrement all over the place. And so now mainstream media and the Capitol Police are like, oh my God, we can't believe that this was such a failure of planning, such a failure of execution in protecting the Capitol. Boy, I can't believe they failed so much. But here's the problem. I don't think it was a failure. I think it was intentional. I think that they absolutely, and you can see it from the videos, and you can see it from people taking selfies with the rioters, that they were absolutely welcome in the Capitol building to do what they've done. And so now, here's where I go to the three experts that agree. So now, this is a French police official who was responsible for public security in key sections of central Paris, as well as two intelligence officials from NATO-aligned countries who directly work with counterterrorism and counterintelligence operations involving the U.S., terrorism, and Russia. So, as you can see from knowledge and credentials and what they actually do, these people actually come from experience, which I think is really relevant here. And so that's important because of the claims that they're making. They said the circumstantial evidence that we have seen available pointed to what would be openly called a coup attempt in any other nation. So now one source is going to set the stage. The defeated president gives a speech to a group of supporters where he tells them that he was robbed of the election, denounces his own administration's members and party as traitors, and tells his supporters to storm the building where the voting is being held. All of that stuff absolutely happened. The supporters, many dressed in military attire and waving revolutionary-style flags, Trump flags, Gadsden flags, Confederate flags, then stormed the building where the federal law enforcement agencies controlled by the current president do not establish a security cordon. And the protesters quickly overwhelmed the last line of defense. The president then makes a public statement to the supporters attacking the Capitol, tells them that he loves them, and doesn't really tell them to stop. Today, I am briefing my government that we believe with a reasonable level of certainty, this is the official, that Donald Trump attempted a coup that failed when the system did not buckle. So, okay. Look, what this person has said so far, he set the stage perfectly. That's exactly what happened. There's nothing that that he said there that was objectionable or unreasonable at all based on the evidence that we have, based on what we've seen. Okay? So now, we also have a law enforcement official who trains with U.S. forces. So now they believe that somebody had interfered with the proper deployment of officers around Congress. Gee, I wonder who that could have been. So now the French police official said that they believed that an investigation would find that somebody interfered with the deployment of additional federal law enforcement officials on the perimeter of the Capitol complex. This official has direct knowledge of the proper procedures for security at the facility. So now, the security of Congress is entrusted to the U.S. Capitol Police. That is a federal agency that does answer to Congress. Now, it is routine that Capitol Police coordinate with the Federal Secret Service, the Park Police, and the local police in Washington, D.C. before a large demonstration. The National Guard, commanded by the Department of Defense, is often on standby too. On Wednesday, however, the coordination was both late and absent. And now we know why. But okay, so let me just, or we can speculate why. So now let me just give you a juxtaposition here, right? So, okay, the image that I'm going to show you, if it's the right one, is at a Black Lives Matter protest. The ones that are 93% peaceful across the country, involving millions and millions of people all over in different parts of the country. So there was a Black Lives Matter march in Washington, D.C., at the Capitol building. Here's what the police presence looked like. Pretty intimidating, right? All right. And then, of course, you've seen what the police presence looked like during the MAGA rally and during the riot that happened at the Capitol on Wednesday. It did not look like that. I think we can figure out why. All right. And so now, what we've seen from another news agency, the Associated Press here, they said that 3 days before the Trump riots, the Pentagon asked the U.S. Capitol Police if it needed help from the National Guard, as they had heard that this, something like this was going to happen, that they were fearful that something like this was going to happen because of all the information that we have heard from Trump supporters themselves saying that we plan to do something on January 6th. They said, no, we don't need National Guard. We're fine, totally fine. And on the day of, when this was happening, as they were marching up the Capitol steps, as the mob was going into the building, the Justice Department leaders had reached out to say, okay, we've got some FBI agents. All right, let's go and send some people over. We're ready. We can help you out. The police turned them down both times, according to senior defense officials and two people familiar with the matter. Interesting. So now, I wonder, that's very, very curious, right? So now maybe to be charitable, that they say, well, okay, look, We don't, we don't think it's going to get that bad. We don't need your FBI agents, okay? We don't need National Guard, okay? We don't need anybody like that, okay? All right, well, that would seem to be a bad argument, as there are plenty of warnings of a possible insurrection. Again, they were announcing this all over Parler, on message boards. There was ample warning, ample warning. And it's important to point out, as I said before, if BLM had been planning this on message boards and in the open, and they tried to do it, well, there would be an army of riot police waiting for them. But what these rioters had was white, right-wing privilege. Talked about this before. And that is the privilege to bust into the Capitol, to smash property. There was looting. Somebody stole Pelosi's mail, who, by the way, now is getting charged for that. In fact, let me go, I don't know if I have the article up here. Yeah, Richard Barnett, the person who actually broke in to Pelosi's office and sat in her chair, this person has been charged with knowingly entering or remaining in a restricted building or grounds without lawful entry, violent entry and disorderly conduct on Capitol grounds, and theft of public money, property, or records. But they let him right in. They let him right in. Not only that, somebody had stolen a podium. There's that picture going around. Somebody's tried to steal a picture of Tip O'Neill, of all things. But in that attempt, accidentally tased themselves to death. They tased themselves in their own balls to death. I am not kidding. I don't know how that happens, but wow, that is a true story. Okay. So now, here's the thing. Am I saying that that Capitol Police should have shot these people? No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that they flagrantly ignored the warnings and did not have adequate security measures to keep people out. That's what I'm saying. Lawmakers were in danger here, okay? They were, at times a few feet away from the mob that was violently trying to smash windows and get through doors to go after these elected officials. There were people that were trying to go after Mike Pence, right-wingers, that were saying we should hang Mike Pence, okay? And so that's pretty serious, all right? This wasn't a protest. It was a riot. It was bad. But again, I'm not saying that we should have shot him. No, what I'm saying is that maybe we should have, I don't know, not shoot peaceful BLM protesters, not shoot these people, not shoot anyone, but actually treat them all the same. Okay? That's all I'm saying. There seems to be an obvious double standard where we over-police black and brown protesters protesting for civil rights and justice, and yet those same people allow right-wing rioters to storm the Capitol. Anyway, so now back to that French security official. Okay? So now French people know how to riot. Okay, they do it all the time. So this guy is, or individual, has probably dealt with worse riots over in France. So now, this person, here's what they said. You cannot tell me I don't know what they should have done. I can fly to Washington tomorrow and do that job. Probably standing on his head. Just as any police official in Washington can fly to Paris and do mine. These are not subtle principles for managing demonstrations, and they transfer to every situation. This is why we train alongside U.S. federal law enforcement to handle these very matters, and it was obvious that large parts of any successful plan were just ignored. Business Insider also notes that the National Guard, which was deployed heavily to quell the Black Lives Matter protests in 2020, did not show up to assist the police until 2 hours after this had started. We've also, again, I've showed you the videos. And so, now we go to the third official, okay? That third official works in counterintelligence. Now, they agreed the situation could only have been seen as a coup attempt and said that the implications might be too huge to immediately fathom. And I think I agree with that. I think we're all in shock. We all can't agree exactly what to call what happened on Wednesday, what exactly to explain it as. But it will have massive repercussions, not just in the United States, but really all over the world, especially when it comes to the United States' reputation. Here's what that official said on that. Thank God it didn't work, because I can't imagine how hard it would be to sanction the U.S. financial system. By sanctions, he means the imposition of diplomatic, military, and trade blockages that democratic nations reserve for dictatorships. This is what other countries are thinking about this, okay? They're horrified. Members in other countries, they literally saw the United States dip into authoritarianism. That's what happened on Wednesday. This is really, really huge. Really, really huge. They had to think about sanctioning. How could we sanction the economic powerhouse of the world, the United States? That was something they considered. Okay, and so if we ended up in a right-wing dictatorship, what else could be done? Thankfully, our system didn't quite fall apart, but still, very dire circumstances here. Knowing how much white supremacy has really infiltrated our policing. And that cannot be ignored. Again, I have been reporting on this for years. How, and the FBI has come out with its own report saying, hey, guys, the white nationalists are infiltrating our police. We should do something about it. We should root them out. And no administration has done anything about it. Not the Obama administration, not the Trump administration, obviously. And so this is what we have. This is why you had police officers taking selfies with these people. That's why you have police officers casually letting them stroll in and destroy these offices. That's why. So again, this is my opinion, this is my view, but this is not a failure of the police. This is the goal of some of those Capitol Police. And I say some of them, right? I'm not saying all of them. Because again, you had people that were killed. You had a Capitol Police officer that was killed by this mob as well during this insurrection, this coup attempt, okay? But first, I say for a lot of them, the Capitol Police and the mob were one and the same. I've heard reports that I can't necessarily verify, where there are members of this mob that were also off-duty police officers that were flashing their badges in order to get in and trash Congress, along with the rest of them. So for that, I mean, some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. It's as true now as it really ever has been. All right. Move on here. Go to the pro-Trump rioters. Pro-Trump rioters are begging for forgiveness after they got caught storming the Capitol building in what was a violent coup attempt. So now we're going to first start with a CEO that was caught here. This is Bradley. Let me show you a picture here. Bradley Rookstales, CEO and president of Cogensia. So now he was one of them that were one of the rioters. So now he told WBEZ that he was real sorry for his role, okay, for getting arrested for unlawful entry. Quote, "My decision to enter the Capitol was wrong, and I am deeply regretful to have done so. Without qualification and as a peaceful and law-abiding citizen, I condemn the violence and destruction that took place in Washington." You can no longer call yourself a peaceful, law-abiding citizen because you literally broke the law. The same. But now, you say, oh, man, my bad, dog. Turns out storming the Capitol is part of an angry mob bent on overthrowing democracy. Wasn't a great idea after all. Interesting. He says, I offer my sincere apologies for my indiscretion. Indiscretion. If we were a black person, they'd be dead or in prison right now. But for a white guy, it's indiscretion. Oh, apologies for my indiscretion, guys. Sorry. No. You straight up participated in a coup attempt to disrupt the democratic process from taking place because you didn't like that your leader lost a legitimate election. Protest is one thing. I support protest. All right? That is protected by the Constitution. What you did was not protest, is not protected by the law. Okay? But he continues. I deeply regret that my actions have brought embarrassment to my family, colleagues, friends, and fellow countrymen. It was the single worst personal decision of my life. I have no excuse for my actions, and I wish that I could take them back. Yeah, well, you got caught. That's what happens. That's why he's sorry. He's sorry he got caught and suffered consequences. In fact, in a post on Twitter, his employer announced that he has been placed on leave while they investigate the incident. Our CEO participated in the recent Washington, D.C. protests, which they weren't. The tweet from Tunisia, those actions were his own and not acting on behalf of Tunisia, nor do his actions in any way reflect the policies and values of our firm. He has been placed on leave of absence while we assess further. All right. So now remember when I said, when I reported on this, that these people are not members of the working class. Okay? This is not a working class revolt. And I'm sorry, but there are lefties out there that are saying, this could be us, but we playing. Okay? But you playing. That's not us. These are not lefties. Okay? These are not people that lefties should ally themselves with. These are not working class people. These are the CEOs. These are the business class people. These are upper middle class whites who are either fascist or fascist adjacent. So they're not fighting against the system that's screwing them over because they get all the advantages from the current system. There's more. It's not the only one who is begging for, forgiveness. You also have Hosea Colt from Boise, Idaho. So now let me show you him. That's what he did. That was him in the House chamber. All right. So now he said that his actions had been inappropriate and that he had not intended to, quote, leave a stain on our great country's democratic process. There were reports that some of these rioters had, left their excrement and spread it all over in the Capitol building. Talk about leaving a stain. They absolutely left a stain. Okay? So now his apology comes after he bragged about his rampage through the U.S. Capitol. Okay? So in a video posted on Instagram shortly after his rampage, Colt had used a derogatory slur to refer to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and then called her a traitor. I'm no fan of Nancy Pelosi. You know that, and I've called her plenty of things in my life. But using a slur, no. Calling somebody corrupt, calling somebody out of touch, I guess for them might seem like a slur. But for me, well, it's an accurate description. But I can only imagine what this white right-winger was calling her. All right. So now the 34-year-old claimed that he was the first to sit in the Democrat's chair. However, the seat actually would have been that of Vice President Mike Pence. So congratulations for sitting in the wrong chair.
Mike Pounds.
Congratulations. Now, on Thursday, Colt had a different tune. He said that he had brought shame upon myself and is now seeking legal advice, which is kind of smart because you're going to need that legal advice. Oof. Now, in a message to CBS 2 News, he said, I love America. I love the people. I didn't hurt anybody. I didn't cause any damage in the chamber. I got caught up in the moment. And when I saw the door to the chamber open, I walked in. I hopped down and I sat in the chair. I said my piece, and I helped the gentleman get to safety that was injured and left. While in the chamber, I told the other protesters that this is a sacred place and not to do any damage. Some of them wanted to trash the place and steal stuff. Throwing his fellow rioters under the bus there. Fun times. But I told them not to and to leave everything in its place. We're still on sacred ground. I sincerely apologize to the American people. I recognize my actions have brought shame upon myself, my family, my friends, and my beautiful country. In the moment I thought I was doing the right thing, I realize now that my actions were inappropriate, and I beg forgiveness from America to my home state of Idaho. Okay. All right. So there's that. There's another person as well. And so you've probably already seen his picture. You've probably already seen his picture here. So let me get to that. And that is, of course, Richard Barnett. This guy. All right. So now, among those to have been identified include 60-year-old gun rights activist Richard Barnett, who was photographed with his feet on the desk in Pelosi's office. He later told the New York Times that he had left Pelosi a nasty note, shocker, and told a local TV station that he'd been walking around looking for a bathroom shortly before the picture was taken. I wonder if the, Capitol pooper and this guy are the same. I mean, he said he was looking for a bathroom. I guess he found one, maybe in the halls. I don't know. I guess we could see if there's a DNA test that they could take. I'm not sure. Now, let's see. He is getting charged. Federal charges are knowingly entering or remaining in a restricted building or grounds without lawful entry, violent entry, disorderly conduct in Capitol grounds, and theft of public money, property, or records. Again, he had stolen a piece of mail from Nancy Pelosi's office. So, did I miss the poop and taser the... Oh, no, I covered that. I talked about that already. All right. So, I mean, hey, I was just looking for a bathroom. That's it. That's it. I really wasn't doing anything wrong sitting in Nancy Pelosi's chair. Yeah. Old bullshit. Total bullshit. In fact, here's why all of these excuses are just garbage. All right. First of all, they showed up for an event based on a conspiracy theory that the president-elect didn't actually win the election. And that the election was somehow stolen from Trump because of all the voter fraud that we can't prove. And then you had Republicans like Brad Raffensperger and Brian Kemp that somehow had betrayed Trump, I don't know how, by actually just doing the count of the actual votes that had come in. But no, to them, it's just a part of an evil plot to install Joe Biden as a fake president who will suddenly somehow bring in communism, Chinese-style communism, to the rest of the country. None of that, of course, is anywhere near true. Terrible. This is what they believe, though. It's what they believe. And they're saying, and this is why they were there. In fact, in an interview at CBS Chicago, Ruxtalis said that it was great to see so many Trump supporters gathered for the Stop the Steal event on January 6th. Again, that's what it was about. So, hey, it's good to see so many people cast doubt on a legitimate election with absolutely no proof. Fantastic. But then he said, well, I can't believe everything turned into chaos. Quote, I had nothing to do with charging anybody or anything or any of that. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I regret my part in that. And that's all I'm comfortable saying. I bet dollars to donuts that if this hadn't worked, if this had worked, he wouldn't be sorry at all. Are you kidding me? No, he'd be celebrating. Had they disrupted the counting process and somehow, in some way, that allowed Donald Trump to take office, which it's not even a good plan. It doesn't even make any sense how this would work. But somehow Donald Trump becomes dictator for life. And their little coup works, right? Well, this guy would not have apologized. He would be celebrating himself. He would be celebrated as a freedom fighter for fascism. Wait, what? I think these people, they knew exactly what they were doing. After all, this was, again, planned in advance. It was not spontaneous. They had merch They had T-shirts with Civil War, January 6, 2021 emblazoned on it. Come on. Don't tell me that you were a victim that just happened to get caught up in the chaos. You didn't have to be there. No, these are more people that are just upset that they got caught doing what they were doing. I have no sympathy for them whatsoever. Y'all effed around. Now you're going to find out. All right. Fun times. Moving on. Let's go to Betsy DeVos. By the way, if you could please, like and share. I appreciate that. Spare some likes for an old beggar. Got any more of them likes? Okay, anyway. I know, shameless. Go to Betsy DeVos. Following the failed insurrection on the Capitol on Wednesday, many Trump administration officials tried to resign to wash the Trump stink off them. So now they did resign in attempting to, no longer be tied to Donald Trump or the actions at the Capitol. And of course, Donald Trump himself also tried to distance himself from his own coup attempt by throwing his own followers under the bus, which is hilarious. But one of the cabinet members, actually the second cabinet member to call it quits, was Education Secretary Betsy DeVos. So first was Stephen Mnuchin. Okay, let me just say, I'm sorry, not Stephen Mnuchin. I can't think of his name now. But anyway, all right. Mnuchin might be next. Who knows? Thank goodness, though, that at least Betsy DeVos is gone. So I'm not the only one saying that, but before we get to it, here's some of her resignation letter, which actually I thought was not too bad. Here's what she said. We should be highlighting and celebrating your administration's many accomplishments on behalf of the American people. Instead, we are left to clean up the mess caused by violent protesters. They're not protesters, they're thugs. Overrunning the U.S. Capitol in an attempt to undermine the people's business. That behavior was unconscionable for our country. There's no mistaking the impact your rhetoric had in the situation. It's the inflection point for me. By the way, I called them thugs. She didn't call them thugs. I called them thugs. I just want to make that clear, right? So, look, that's actually kind of strong. But here's my problem with that. Celebrating the many accomplishments. Which accomplishments? The over 300,000 dead from coronavirus? That's an accomplishment, right? The stripping of the American middle class. 8 million people that have now fell into poverty as a result of the coronavirus and the shutdowns. It was Mulvaney, thank you. The fact that Elon Musk is now the richest person in the world for some godforsaken reason. Or that, Jeff Bezos had increased his wealth during a pandemic by like $13 billion as a result of the administration policies. How none of them are taxed. How actually we gave massive tax cuts to the rich. How about the children locked up in the cages? Yes, the Trump administration has accomplished quite a bit, if your goal was to destroy the country piece by piece. Dismantle it and give it over to the corporations. But to be fair, as I said, she did slam the attempted insurrection, which I guess is the baseline here. The least that you can do is say, oh, turns out, attempted coup, bad. To be fair, they'd never say that about an attempted coup in another country. In fact, the Trump administration tried to overthrow Venezuela. So, supported that coup. But nonetheless, not in favor of this one. So, now, what she herself has done to harm education for those very children in this country that I referenced, or that she referenced in her thing, is enough to earn her a lot of coarse scorn. Starting with the American Federation of Teachers, who issued this two-word statement. Good riddance. You know you love it. Good riddance. Good riddance to bad rubbish, right? Exactly. But I think actually the best one here is my governor, Gretchen Whitmer. So now, a little bit of background here. I didn't support Gretchen Whitmer at first. She's establishment, not in favor of Medicare for All, owned by Blue Cross Blue Shield, all that stuff. But actually, she's done the best she could do in the pandemic, and I got to give her credit for it. She turned out to be, of course, a very competent governor. Again, I think that probably we would be doing better as a state if we were under Abdul El-Sayed, Dr. Abdul El-Sayed, especially during the pandemic. But again, I can't criticize her exactly for what she's done in Michigan. She's actually done a pretty good job. So now, DeVos, also from Michigan, okay? That's the DeVos family. It's very, very big in this state. And so she's done a lot of damage to this state. And as well as to the rest of the country. And so this is how Gretchen Whitmer ties in. See, she had a response to this, to her, resignation. And I want to show it to you because I love it. Dear America, sorry about Betsy DeVos. Sincerely, Michigan. I love it. This is so good. Again, as a Michigander myself, a humble Michigander, I also do apologize. That said, Michigan don't want her back. We don't want her back. She can fuck off to Florida with Ivanka and Jared for all I care. Go take one of her 10 yachts and go sail away and get lost in the middle of the ocean. I don't really care. Am I being petty? Absolutely. Does she deserve it? Yes. Yeah, goddamn right. Let me just say that. All right. Before we get to Joe Manchin, I just want to do one more dunking here on Donald Trump. It's got a dunk. Little bit of candy here, all right? A little bit of fluff. Fun times. I know we had some pretty heavy stories today. It appears that outgoing President Donald Trump is having a little bit of a sad, and of course, a little bit of a sad temper tantrum. After his failed coup and subsequent concession speech, yes, he conceded. He threw all of his supporters under the bus and basically said that, yes, I'm not going to be president. We need to come together for healing. Oh, wonderful. Look, it's the realization, really, that he is out of options for retaining power. Besides, that speech that he had made yesterday, not written by him. No, it was teleprompter 101. What he really wanted to do was spit into the eye of his opponent one last time. And how is he doing this? Well, he's decided not to show up to Biden's inauguration. In a terse announcement on Twitter, the president tweeted, "To all those who have asked, I will not be going to the inauguration on January 20th. I can just imagine him trying to type that throughout all the tears. The tears of infinite sadness. Suffice to say, he got obliterated on social media as a result of this. One person says, biggest loser. Another adds, wow, sore loser and seditious traitor for our nation skips inauguration. Who could have foreseen this? To be fair, maybe he doesn't expect to be around for the inauguration. He could be hauled away. I don't know. Haul him away as garbage. Another person says, we don't want you there. Sore loser, embarrassment. Another person says, you just get booed and walk out anyway. And everyone would walk out. This is what the rest of your miserable life will be. You will be about as welcome as O.J. Simpson wherever you go. Don't do O.J. like that. All right? No, O.J.'s trash too. All right, anyway. Another person says, Donald Trump declaring he won't attend Biden's inauguration like we care isn't a shocker. Nobody expected him to miraculously become presidential on the day he loses his job. And then another person says, we already knew that, you absolute coward. As you can see, nobody here is really surprised that he be petty until the very end. What can I say? Sad. All right. Candy break's over. Let's get to some serious stuff. The last story here. Let's dunk on some Joe Manchin. Earlier this week, Democrats stunned the country by flipping Georgia blue and effectively gaining control of the Senate. So now it's a tight race. Raphael Warnock versus Kelly Loeffler. David Perdue versus John Ossoff. Of course, Warnock definitely crushed Loeffler, but it was a much, much closer race when it came to Ossoff and Perdue. But in the end, Ossoff actually did win the race. And so now Georgia flipped. And it was something that was pretty amazing to behold. So now, along with the House being in control of the Democrats, the White House being in control of Democrats, it appears the Democratic Party might be poised to actually get a couple of things done. One of the promises, for example, immediately made was something that happened to be very effective in favor of getting Democrats elected in the first place. $2,000 stimulus checks. Now, this is at a time where millions have been thrown into poverty as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. Stimulus checks are not only necessary, but also extremely popular among both Democrats and Republicans. It is very, very necessary. And so there just happens to be one little snag. And this time, it's not Mitch McConnell. This time, it's not Republicans. It's Joe freaking Manchin. Ah, yes, Joe Manchin. So now the Washington Post earlier reported today that he had voiced fervent opposition to providing $2,000 stimulus checks, putting the so-called moderate lawmaker at odds with President-elect Joe Biden, congressional Democrats, and even some Republicans. He said, quote, "Absolutely not. No. Getting people vaccinated, that's job number one." So now, immediately after this comes out, Joe Manchin's spokesperson is like, backpedal, backpedal, backpedal. Oh, I didn't say that we weren't going to do it. No. It just said which was priority. Now, this is the weakest backpedal I've ever seen. Because everything that I've seen about Joe Manchin is that he loves the fact that Congress right now is split. Okay, Congress is split. You've got 50-50, and Kamala Harris is the tiebreaker, which means people like Joe Manchin are suddenly, for some reason, relevant again. And this guy is soaking it up. He's like, oh, now's the time to reach out to the moderates. Now's my time. I'm a kingmaker. Oh, Jesus Christ. So now, here's the thing. Okay, if you want to focus on vaccination, here's why it doesn't make any sense, all right? Now, vaccination is super important, but even if we were going Operation Warp Speed, right? Well, still getting people vaccines is still going to take months, even if we speed it up. Now, the Trump administration has been unbearably slow in getting this going, okay? And so, yes, that is a big problem. We need to speed it up. Even if we do speed it up, best case scenario is sometime mid next year, right? So what are people going to do until then? You can't just willy-nilly open up the economy like a lot of Republicans are calling for. That wouldn't help. No, you've got to get people vaccinated. You've got to get herd immunity built up. And then we can actually begin to open up and get back to our lives, which I can't wait. But it is going to take some time. It's going to take a lot of time. And so our healthcare system, by the way, compared to countries with robust single-payer systems, is so deeply inefficient at large-scale projects like massive vaccinations that, look, it's going to take months and months to get this done. We've already seen slowdowns, we've seen problems, and now, of course, we have issues with nurses, and not just nurses, but medical professionals that are saying, oh, no, you know what? I'm going to pass on taking this vaccine anyway. And so you have also that problem that's going on. So we don't have the infrastructure, and seemingly we don't even have the will as a country to massive vaccinate ourselves to the point of where we no longer, have to do the social distancing, mask measures, and lockdowns. It's a big issue, big issue. So now, when it comes to the stimulus, what are people going to do in the meantime? That's why getting vaccines shouldn't be the number one priority. Yes, it should be absolutely a priority. But right now, something that you can do to help the American people is to get money into their pockets, because it's not just stimulus, it is survival money. It is survival money. Okay, so this is a problem, all right? But here's what Manchin says about this, and it's frustrating. He says, how's the money that we invest now going to help us best to get jobs back and get people employed? And I can't tell you that sending another check out is going to do that to a person that's already got a check. What are you talking about? You realize people have to spend money, right? Survive. People spend money as soon as they get it, especially during a pandemic where so many people have lost their jobs. Millions of people, tens of millions of people have lost their jobs during this pandemic. They no longer have that income. And you're saying, oh, what are they going to do? They already got a check. They got a $600 check. I mean, what could rent be? $10? Come on. No, this guy, no. See, with COVID lasting as long as it has, and the government not doing really very much to help, especially when you compare it to other countries that have done things like, making sure that they get, a lot of people get 100, or 80 to 100% of their former income from their job from the government instead. So these people still continue to have money in order to spend on their stuff. Okay, we didn't do any of that. And so what were people, having to do, especially without nationwide rent and mortgage moratoriums and a lack of a UBI? Well, they blew through their savings. That's what happened. All right, they blew through their savings, and so these people who had money no longer have it. So what are they going to do? And so here's the thing. I don't like calling these checks stimulus checks. Why? Because we're not really stimulating anything. What we're doing here is we're just making sure to give enough people enough for survival. That's what it is. These are survival checks. And so I hate the argument, and Mitch McConnell used it to avoid giving people, stimulus checks, is that, hey, if you give people to money or money to people who have money, well, that's bad. Well, that doesn't make any sense. So here's this little thing that you can do. I learned this little trick, right? It's called taxing people. So I don't care if a rich person gets a check. I don't care if a person who already has money has gotten a check. Guess what? You can tax that out later. I don't care if Jeff Bezos gets a $2,000 check. That's like lint, that's pocket lint to him. But you can tax that and more back if you are so worried about, the deficit, losing money. All right? And so the other thing, of course, is that $2,000, a one-time $2,000 check, still is not enough to bring people back from the brink. Okay? The American people right now are $70 billion behind in rent collectively. $2,000 might be 1 month of rent in many places, many of the big cities. But Joe Manchin doesn't understand that. Joe Manchin is worth anywhere from $3 to $7 million. So he's got no idea what it is like to be someone who is suffering right now. No idea. And besides that, okay, the legislation itself, a standalone $2,000 check, is incredibly popular. It's got huge support. And again, it is why the Democrats were able to take back the Senate from Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell blocked it. You had Trump. You had Republicans. You had Democrats. You even had Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. They pushed these checks. And by the way, Chuck Schumer is actually trying to continue pushing these checks. He said this: one of the first things that I want to do when our new senators are seated is deliver the $2,000 checks to American families. Manchin's response to this, it's going to piss me off. We have a difference of opinion. that's the beauty of our whole caucus. We have a difference of opinion on that. F off, scumbag. Piece of crap. Smug. He's so smug, this guy. Joe Manchin. Ugh. I mean, this guy believes, I really do think that he believes that Americans should get shouldn't even get the bare minimum of help from the government. Okay, here's some bootstraps for you. By the way, did you know how important I am now in the Senate? I'm the moderate. You should all bow down to me. I'm the all-important, mushy moderate, which, again, the moderate position is actually $2,000 checks. You know what the progressive position is? $2,000 monthly checks, retroactive to the beginning of the pandemic, and lasting until the end of it, along with moratoriums on rent, mortgages, student cancellation, and guaranteed health care. That is the progressive position. The moderate position is the $2,000 checks. Where's Joe Manchin on that? He's in the way conservative position. Now, that said, could we get past Joe Manchin on that? Well, that would depend on how we do it. I mean, you could have an up or down vote. Most likely, Republicans would do a filibuster, but it is possible that there could be enough Republicans in favor of this to pass a 60-vote threshold. There's one way of doing it, but still, you would want to have as many Democrats as you can on board. You'd have to have 50 out of 50. And losing Joe Manchin, maybe there's a Republican that could fill that position, possibly, but I always hate having to count on Republicans to do the right thing. And I'm just talking about a straight up or down, $2,000 check, nothing else in it. Okay, you can do the other stuff later, but the most important thing that you can do right now, and the most effective thing that you can do right now to ease the pain of the American people, is to make sure that everybody has that check and send it out as soon as possible. They can do it without, putting in this gigantic bill you can work on later. I'm just saying, that would be the best way to do it, the quickest way to do it, the most efficient way to do it. And again, all we're calling for is the bare minimum. And right now, I'm afraid that this action from Joe Manchin is what we're going to see for the next 4 years. Okay? Democrats bring up policy. Progressives, they lead the way. They push for good policy. And then you have D-bags like Joe Manchin that decide to block it because what Joe Manchin is basically Mitch McConnell with a D next to his name. That's it. So I think we need to remember this, all right? So smug Joe Manchin can sit there and think that he's, king shit, basically. Sitting there saying, oh, you've got to appeal to me now. I actually am relevant and I actually have power. Well, we need to take that power away from him. How do we do that? Primary the shit out of him. So now he's in West Virginia. There happens to be a really good progressive from West Virginia that has tried to primary Manchin a couple of times now. That she could really use your support. Her name is Paula Jean Swearingen. And she's a real progressive who would fight for, you. Fight for every American person. In order to get not just one $2,000 check, but Medicare for all. Green New Deal, okay? And $2,000 monthly checks. This is somebody who would actually fight for you. So just remember that when next time Joe Manchin is up for election, that we could get a real progressive in office and take this self-important D-bag out of the equation, send him back to West Virginia. All right. No, we don't have a filibuster proof majority. I wish we did. You need 60 votes in order to get anything. Now, on the checks, we might, but it depends. All right. Anyway, that's all I've got today. Damn, 940 people. A lot of you. Like and subscribe if you enjoy the commentary, if you enjoy the stories. Much, much appreciative. I want to do read some donos here. Peril77 says, I do not come here for the puns. I come here for the Alex Jones soundboard. Well, this is the only one I have right now.
I will eat your ass.
All right. I'll work on getting more of those sounds there for you. Dango Bango says, what's scary is that those people are our neighbors. Yep. Spectrum 86, thank you for the very kind $5. Amen. Trump's voters are not the working class. Google Washington Post. It's true. Very, very true. Thank you, Mikey. Me, myself, and I. Much appreciated. Dango Bango again says, Manchin just wants slavery. Corporate feudalism, folks. Corporate feudalism. And then Dr. Zippy McScoot says, Joe Manchin and the Republican Party need to go get a room together. They already do. Like, I love the memes showing, like, Joe Manchin, like in a pause menu trying to switch teams. Next game stream, I'm not sure. So maybe I'll do something this weekend. I'm not entirely sure. But hey, Twitch people, stay around. We're going to raid, I believe. Let's see what we've got here. We'll probably just raid into the serfs. You do a great job if they're online. The rest of you, again, please like and subscribe, share, do all this wonderful stuff. Boucher, thank you for that tier 1 subscription for 2 months. Boucher, also, thank you for those tier 1 subs. Wow, much appreciated. Obi-Mom Kenobi, also thank you for that sub. Obi-Mom is the star over at the TYT Twitch, by the way. Amazing stuff. So very, very generous, very kind, wonderful, and I do like her name too. It's the best. 2024 Manchin will be up for re-election. Primary. Let's do it. Primary challenges. Let's get them all. All the corporate Democrats, so we can get some stuff done. All right. Again, let's do this raid on Twitch here. And as far as the rest of you are concerned, I hope that you have a wonderful weekend filled with much fun and enjoyment. And remember, thank you, love you guys. Change begins with you. Good night, everybody. See you all later.
Like a shark, NATO, except for poop.
Listen, rights.
Thailand.
I like my meat tight. Tighten up my meat. Mike Pounds.
Wet ass P-word.
Please clap. You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.